Welcome to Paperweights, the podcast where two self-proclaimed gym rats and shooting enthusiasts delve into the world of literature with a sprinkle of humor. Although their biceps could crush a walnut, don't let that intimidate you. They also have a nerdy side. Mike and Brandon have a voracious appetite for reading, particularly in the fantasy genre, and they want to share their passion with you. So grab your protein shake and your favorite novel and join us for a humorous and insightful journey into the world of books with Paperweights.
Welcome back to another episode of the Paperweights. I'm your host, Brandon.
And I am Mike. Welcome to the first episode of 2024.
Yes. Yeah, it's been a while since you and I have had a conversation here.
It's been a year.
Yeah. Oh, not a full year, but we haven't talked since last year.
It's a dad joke, man. It's a dad joke.
You got to say it right, though. You got to deliver it right.
Well.
Yeah. So, how was your holidays?
Holidays are good. We did not travel. We stayed in Ohio. Girls were out of school. So since the last time we were on here, I got a new job and I started working. Like right before Christmas. And so I was working, and my wife was actually off work. So it worked out fantastic that she was off work as I was starting my new job. And, yeah, the holidays were good, man. We just hung out. It didn't snow. We got a little bit of snow on New Year's, but it'll happen. Or so they say it'll happen. We'll see. And yours?
Mine was pretty okay. So I had a scare in jiu-jitsu, but it turned out to be just okay. Everything's fine with it, but somebody put a ankle submission on me, and I just heard my ankle just pop like 5 times in a row. It's really loud.
Never a good sound.
And I was like, oh my God. So I was like freaking out that it was going to be like tendons torn and everything. But it was just a little bit of soreness. There wasn't any bruising or swelling. So, and now, I can run on it. So, that was good. And then on Christmas Day, so that was Thursday before Christmas. And then Christmas Day, I ended up getting COVID. So
good times.
But it was fine. It wasn't a bad bout of it.
Mm-hmm.
I never ran fever. Only had like 2 hours of body aches and chills on the first day. But other than that, it just felt like a run-of-the-mill sinus infection. So
yeah. I had it 2 years ago, and it put me on my butt for like 3 days.
Yeah, this one didn't. I mean, obviously, I didn't go train jiu-jitsu just to, like not give it to other people.
Right.
But yeah. So yesterday was my first day back at jiu-jitsu, and damn, jammed my finger. I mean, you can see it right there, but I guess I forgot how to get my grips on the gis in 2 weeks. So, yeah, shit happens.
This is true.
Fingers just get caught up in the gi sometimes. So, but yeah, Jules is out at my mother-in-law's. She was going to stay right after Christmas, but when I woke up and didn't feel good, we just came back home to Christy. So Christy spent Christmas Eve all by herself.
Mm.
And then we came back home Christmas Day and just chilled out for the next 3 days. So I did get myself a little new Kindle Paperwhite signature edition. So
nice.
It was used, and the cover was used, and so like it and the cover itself, I paid less than the price of a new just tablet.
Nice.
And I really do prefer physical books. But sometimes it is nice to be able to just have that light little pad
Mhm.
that has a backlight on it and just sit there in the bed and read without the lamp on or anything, or with traveling.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to just shove that in and not worry about. I'm very anal about the condition of my books.
Mhm.
So whenever I see you completely folding the cover back of a paperback book, I'm like, I'm never gonna let you borrow a book of mine.
Yeah, I actually really like those the Kindles, or like for me, like I would put them on my iPad, because whenever you open a book on an iPad, like it changes the way the screen looks. So it's not quite as good as like reading it on that Kindle, but it does a better job than just the old school, just blinding like LCD screen in your face with it. Because I mean, you can't take, if you're traveling for a week, you can't take 2 or 3 books with you. It takes up too much
Right.
space. But I could take 400 on my iPad.
Yeah, I mean, you could take more.
I was
And
just throwing a number out there.
you could add more.
Mhm.
Like, you could buy 100 of them while you're on vacation and still be able
Right.
to bring them back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, it's I had a, Barnes& and Noble Nook.
I had one of
Um,
those forever ago.
yeah, and I still have it, but the version I have, they're discontinued,
Hmm.
and it wasn't until after I bought this one, this Kindle, that Barnes& and Noble sent me an email stating, because I've been, a loyal, uh, customer for so long,
Hmm.
if I provided the serial number of my Nook device,
Hmm.
I get a $50 discount on a new one.
Of course.
It's like, okay.
It's
But
like,
like
thanks.
I looked up the reviews and the
Hmm.
comparisons of both of them, and this time I thought the Kindle was a better choice.
Hmm.
Um, because previously when I went with the Nook, it was because the small size and then like the physical buttons, so
Yeah.
you can hit the button and it
Yep.
turns the page instead of just tapping the screen. Um,
Did you
and
have the
some
Gen 1 also? Because I had the like the Gen 1 Nook that had like the physical click buttons on the sides.
Yeah, I had that one, and then I had the first generation of the glow light.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got something else going on now. Might be like fourth or fifth generation glow
Yeah.
lights, but they did away with the physical buttons. You can get one on one of the more expensive uh Kindles,
Hmm.
but it's also a
It's
bigger, like
big.
it's a bigger device.
Like you're reading a coffee table book. They're so big.
Yeah, but I mean they're still lighter and kind of more manageable than a physical book sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes it sucks to just be holding a book,
Depending on what
especially
size the book is, yes.
in the binding and how the
Hmm.
binding is, and if you care about the binding and the condition of the book as much as I do, a lot of times holding it down at the
Hmm.
bottom binding gets done, but you can't
Yeah.
really hold it at the top to counteract it. So sometimes you have to hold it on the sides, and this makes your arms get tired. And I guess first world problems
Yeah.
where we care about the condition of our
I
books.
mean, book nerd problems, I guess. I did get one really cool thing for Christmas.
What was that? Oh, it's a
I
camera.
got a Canon R6 Mark II, which is a full frame mirrorless camera with a 24 to 70 lens. This is nice.
It
Very
looks nice.
nice. I
You know,
have been super stoked with this new camera.
whenever we found out my wife was pregnant, I went out and bought a camera and a nice little 50 mil
Hmm.
lens. And a friend of ours who was actually our this is a funny story. He was the photographer at our wedding,
Hmm.
and then he was the photographer at my brother-in-law's wedding. He was the photographer at two or three of my friends' weddings, all
Hmm.
because we referred him.
Right.
um, but he showed me whenever I bought the camera, he came
Mhm.
over one evening and I gave him a 6-pack of beer, and he kind of went over how to use
Mhm.
the Canon Rebel. It was a Rebel EOS,
Yep.
and he's like, "All right, this is how you take photos. This is what these settings mean.
Mhm.
Um, don't do this, but to do this, you know."
Mhm.
And so he really did teach me how to photograph.
Mhm.
Um, and further for about the first year and a half, I used it pretty well.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you how many pictures I took in the past few years because it hasn't been many. But the funny thing about him is when we went to go meet the photographer, like my
Mhm.
wife said, "All right, we're gonna go meet our wedding photographer."
Mhm.
And so we walk into the coffee shop and I see a guy sitting there that I know, and I'm just
Mhm.
like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And then my wife's like, "How do you know him?" Like, "That's our photographer." I was like, "That's our photographer?" She's like, "Yeah,
That's
that's our
funny.
photographer." And so, like, I knew him from the gym,
Mhm.
and this was before I even really got into g like, powerlifting and
Right.
competing or anything. It was just he knew me when I started going to the gym
Right.
and, to become a non-fat ass
Mhm.
to somebody that was healthier because I was diagnosed with diabetes and I wanted to, change my lifestyle so I had to be on medicine.
Right.
And so it was just funny walking in there. And my wife knew him because he got his haircut at the salon.
That's hilarious.
And there's been a couple of other people that we know
Mhm.
separately that we ended up realizing, hey, we know these people.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. Being as social as I am in all the different areas that I go in around town,
Mhm.
my wife will, somebody will run into her and go, "Hey, you're Brandon's wife, right?" She's like, "Yeah, who are you?" And then
Right.
the same thing will happen to me. Like
Mm.
somebody will like, "Hey, you're Christy's husband, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." "Cool, I'm so and so. She talks a lot about you." I'm like, "Who are you?"
Right.
And most of the time it's like her client or something.
Mhm.
So um I never bother to ask whether it's good or bad stuff that she tells them, but
Safer that way.
I assume it's good. So,
Right on.
but hey, I wanted to we're just talking this episode for the viewers. We don't have a book that we're currently reading. So we're going to spend this episode kind of explaining things that we were looking to do this year. Don't have a full timeline of it yet. And then just talk about other things we're reading. So um, I guess we'll save um, our plans for the end of the episode.
Yeah,
What do you
we'll
want to do
save the
now?
book list for the end. That way, if they want to know what we're reading, they got to listen to all of it.
Yeah, there you go. Or just skip to the end.
Or skip to the end. Either way.
But or we could like switch it up and make it that it's not at the end. So like right now they skip to the end and they're
And now we
like
talk about the books.
those liars. And then they don't know where they were in the podcast, so then they got to start all over.
Tricked them.
That sounds great. I'm gonna take a sip of this Angel's Envy.
Right on.
Got that private select from Louisville when I went up there in October. So,
Angels envy some good juice.
oh yeah, it is, and that private select is. I'm glad there's still some left.
Right.
I'm glad it didn't all get put into bourbon and cokes. So,
Happens.
um, so yeah, in December, end of November, I finished my reread of the Wheel of Time. So yeah,
Woohoo! You're done.
I'm done with it. It is a chore to get through,
Hmm.
just because of the length of it.
Right.
But I was excited to get back to reading some other books that I want to read, and not be beholden to the podcast for reading them, but
Hmm.
just breeze through books. Um, without having to stop, without having to take notes,
Right.
without having to wait till the next week, wait till after we record a podcast episode to continue reading to find out what happens. So I decided to start with the Brandon Sanderson Year of Sanderson books, his secret project books. And so I'm not going to talk about any details in them story wise, really, but I'm almost halfway through the fourth one.
Okay.
Uh, they're not all tied together, really. They're all individual stories. So you're not going to have characters, they're not continuing a story. But I started off with Tress of the Emerald Sea. I read them in order with they shipped them out. The second one was The Frugal Wizard's Guide to Surviving Medieval England.
That's
Just
funny.
a really long book title. The next one was Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, and the fourth one that I'm currently reading is The Sunlit Man. So they're all written by Brandon Sanderson. All of them are in the Cosmere, except for Frugal Wizard. They're all I have. I bought the Kickstarter versions, so it's all of this special edition, hardback, full color print. And I really have to say, these books, like if a book puts that much kind of special care into it, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Like the cover of the art. Give me 1 second, I'll get one. So like this is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. So right off the bat,
That's a gorgeous cover.
right off the bat, man, like just it has none of them have a dust jacket on it or anything, but what's funny is a few years ago my mother-in-law gave me this little fabric um book cover.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that. But then like on the second book, I was like, hey, I saw it on the shelf and I was like, hey, I wonder if I can put that on there. And I did. And it's been cool. Just to
kind of help protect it while you're reading it.
Yeah. But like I take it off every now and then just to look at the covers of these books. And like it's
like embossed
texture.
on there.
Yeah. There's texture. There's raised and lowered parts of it. So
that's awesome.
And then he has different artists in each one that do some of the artwork. So like, I mean, this one, the inside cover, all the artwork in Yumi and the Nightmare Painter is like watercolors.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That looks really cool.
And so there's some full color stuff in here. But like, I mean, just
nice,
just amazing. So the care in detail put into these special edition books is awesome, and like totally worth reading a physical copy of. Like you'll get it, like the Kindle Paperwhite, you'll get the story, but you're not going to see all the awesome detail that went into it. And so I will say I haven't finished The Sunlit Man, but all three of the other ones I finished have a special place in my heart, like story wise and everything. So I will say the Cosmere novels, if you're new to the Cosmere, I would probably read something else first. Because you won't fully appreciate some of the details and interactions and references.
Gotcha.
But there's nothing wrong with reading it. You'll still get a great story out of it. There's just going to be things that you come across and go, well, I don't understand that reference.
Right.
But if you
you
read
probably wouldn't even realize it was a reference.
Right. Well, on some of these, I think you will, because it's just so like it is in your face, telling
Blatant.
you, it was basically saying, "Hey, there's this thing that happened that you should know about, and if you don't, then you definitely don't know about it." Like,
Right.
um, but if you've read some of the other Cosmere stuff, and there's a whole lot, and there's not any particular ones I'd tell you to go read first before going to reading it, but it's
Hmm.
just there's lots of stuff in all the other ones that just kind of you get little tidbits here. So if you
Hmm.
did read other Cosmere stuff, then you could be like Captain America, where he's like, "Hey, I got that reference,"
Nice.
in the Avengers.
Hmm.
So Sunlit Man, I am really enjoying, and it reminds me it's very fast paced,
Gotcha.
and so it kind of reminds me a little bit of uh kind of the fast pacedness of a Mad Max film,
Hmm.
especially Fury Road, where like Max is just there, he gets chased down, he gets captured, and then he's in this like weird place where he's like,
Hmm.
I don't fully understand everything here, but I don't want to be here.
Right.
Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, it's a very manga anime-esque
Hmm.
feel to it. Um, with like a love story or romance in it, which was very like I love that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Not overly like cheesy,
Yeah.
uh, but I really enjoyed that one, and I think it's my favorite of them so far. I'll hold off final judgment or review of that until I finish the Sunlit Man.
Hmm.
Um, Frugal Wizard, that's fun. I told you about that one. It's like a white room where somebody wakes up and has no memory of what it is
Hmm.
of their past or where they are, but they know they have a mission. They're trying to figure it out. So
Right.
it's kind of like the same type of story that Project Hail Mary was.
Yeah, didn't you send a thing saying he kind of got like he kind of used that as like a reference, like or as like inspiration?
Yeah, yeah. He
Hmm.
said he had just finished reading Project Hail Mary that year,
Right.
and so he's like, "Oh yeah, okay,
Hmm.
that's that's an influence for it." And then Tress of the Emerald Sea is kind of like a modern fairy tale, um, kind of fun, like little adventure, almost like The Princess Bride.
Hmm.
So um, very fun. I love Brandon Sanderson. He is one of my favorite authors. He's a very prolific writer. I
Hmm.
think 2005 or 2007, one of those years was the first year he was published
Hmm.
with the Mistborn Last Empire book. And then inside the front cover of Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, you see this 2-page list.
Right.
Yeah. Those are all novels or novellas that Brandon Sanderson has published in 18 years.
Yeah. It's a pretty extensive list.
And he's also a professor at Brigham Young.
Hmm.
So he's just he's just a word machine.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I'm reading, and then also I'm just kind of reading through not as fast paced and not every day taking an entry from Scarcity Brain by Michael
Hmm.
Easter. I think you said you were reading that as well.
Yep. I'm still reading. I figured I'd be done with it by now, but whenever I started working, I had to kind of rework my schedule a little bit. So I'm still going through it. I'm still really enjoying it though.
Yeah, it's very interesting. My dog decided to come in the room. Um, he had a horrible night on New Year's.
With everybody setting off fireworks.
Yeah, but we weren't here,
Mm.
and we thought so he's hard of hearing now,
Uh-huh.
and so like most of the time he doesn't respond to noises,
Hmm.
not loud noises, but just noises. And so We left the lamps on in the room, so any flashes outside wouldn't
Right.
really register to him, and we left the TV on with, you know, moderate volume,
Mm-hmm.
and we went to a friend's house, and we stayed there and came home the next morning. And we came home, and I opened the door, and
Mm-hmm.
all of the stuff that was on my nightstand
Mm-hmm.
was pushed off.
Oh.
The lamp and the clock had been unplugged from the wall.
Mm-hmm.
There was a clothes basket that just had a few things in it that was
Uh-huh.
there that was pushed out. There was a we had a wicker basket with like some beach towels that was
Mm-hmm.
underneath the table that was knocked over. All the towels were strewn all over the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there was a picture on the wall that was cockeyed, but it was above that table, and then there was something else standing on the table
Mm-hmm.
that was the top of it was met around the bottom
Yeah.
of the thing on the wall. So we think he ran into it and
Mm.
it knocked it
Kind of a
over.
cascading effect.
Yeah. And
Poor
so
guy.
yeah, poor guy, but it could have been fireworks, but
Mm-hmm.
also so it Sunday was New Year's Eve, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't use my phone on Sundays.
Right.
So I had it silenced, but I brought it with me to my friend's house
Mm-hmm.
because we were going to wake up Monday morning
Right.
and I'm going to take it with me. And so we leave the house, we set the alarm, we get to my friend's house, and it's about a 30-minute drive. And we're there, and like it was an hour and a half. Like it was about 8:30. So we left our house around 6:30, 6:40. And around 8:30, my wife comes in and she's like, "Hey, did you get a phone call?" I was like, "It's Sunday." I don't
Mm-hmm.
She goes, "Well, my phone here, the security system called, the security company
Mm.
called. It was an hour and a half ago, and the
Mm.
alarm was going off."
So if the alarm was going off in the house, that probably freaked him all the way out.
That probably, yeah. So I don't know if it was that or the
Mm-hmm.
fireworks or a combination of the two,
Right.
but you know, he's old.
Mm-hmm.
He's 12, 13. But yeah, next year we're not gonna leave him by himself. We're gonna
Yeah.
take him with us wherever we go. So, but yeah, so
Right on.
Sunday or New Year's Eve it was fun. There was just about 9 of us, 9, 10 of
Mm-hmm.
us just hanging out, good friends, close friends. So,
Cool.
did y'all do anything for New Year's?
Stayed home, man.
Did y'all
We
stay up past midnight?
Unfortunately, the kids wanted to stay up and see the ball drop, so we powered through to midnight, and then I think I was in bed at 12:09.
We went to bed like after 2.
I can't do it. I can't do that anymore, man.
But
It hurts too bad.
we we ended up leaving around 7
Mm-hmm.
because they run the heater at their house.
Oof, gross.
We don't run the heater.
Yeah,
So, especially at night.
right.
So like I could not get comfortable like laying in his house with jeans on with their heater running. I'm like, oh my God.
That's gross. I just slept outside. That's so gross.
So whenever I woke up in the morning
Right.
to use the bathroom, I was like, woke my wife up, said, "Hey,
Let's go.
let's go home and we can crawl into our bed at home and
Mm-hmm.
sleep until LSU plays at 11." So, and then we just chilled in the house and watched football all day. She was a trooper. She watched the LSU football game. Then she watched the first of the playoff games with us,
Right on.
with me, not
Mm-hmm.
us. Um, and I didn't watch the second one. I was tired, so we just went to bed. Somebody just turned the light off back there.
Yeah, my wife's back there walking around.
Hmm.
Trying to think, what did we do New Year's? I don't remember what we did. I don't remember if we went on a hike. Or no, we went out to the there's a raptor center. There's a raptor rehab center that's like a 30-minute drive from here. So we went out and took a hike up there and checked out all the birds that they have that they're rehabbing and the ones they have to keep for educational purposes because they can't be released. That was a
Yeah,
lot of fun. Got to play with the camera.
that was founded by Chris Pratt, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Goober.
So besides Michael Easter's Scarcity Brain, is there anything else you've been reading?
Kind of picking my way through Inheritance, the Christopher
Okay.
Paolini book. Yeah, I got to finish it before I get into Murtaugh. So,
I need to
and
reread all of those before I get into Murtaugh because I don't remember shit.
well, I can tell you that Inheritance is definitely starting off better than Brasinger did. Like it's a lot more. It started off a lot more interesting so far. So
I like Brissinger. I remember liking those books, but I don't remember many details.
I wasn't a big fan of Eldest. Like it was okay, and then there was parts of Brissinger that I was just like, meh. But so far, I'm liking Inheritance more. But I'm only like 100 pages in.
You know what I didn't like about the movie Aragon?
That it was a complete 180 from the book.
Oh yeah, I mean there's a lot of stuff. But like the main thing I did not like was when Saphira hatched and she was just like, "My name's Saphira." I'm
Yeah.
like, "The fuck it is." I mean, it is, but the fuck do you know about that?
Right. Yeah, so I was on the opposite end of that spectrum because I had never read the book. So I was one of those people that I watched the movie and I was like, "Oh, this is a cool movie." And then I would always hear all the people saying how like their absolute just disdain for the movie, and I was like, I don't see what the problem is. And then I read the book and I went, "Oh, that's why y'all hate it because it sucked compared to the book." now I'm tracking.
Wasn't Jeremy Irons in that?
I don't know. Maybe I couldn't tell you.
I can tell you in a second. Hold on.
No, I don't really not too many actors and actresses that I keep up with, so I really don't know.
Yeah, Jeremy Irons played Brom,
Oh, okay.
and John Malkovich played Galbatrox.
I did remember
Galbatorix.
that, but that's only because I really like John Malkovich.
Yeah, I don't see Aragon and Murtaugh. Have these guys played anything else?
I have no idea.
Nothing I recognize or watched.
I know that Christopher Paolini is heavily involved in the writing of the new Aragon series,
Mm.
so that should go significantly better than the movie did.
Well, wow, Rachel Weisz voiced Saphira in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot about that. And Jimin Hansu was Ajihad.
I guess I can pretend like I know who those people were.
Ajihad. The actors or the
Yeah, I
characters?
don't know the actors. I have no idea who you're talking about.
You know Rachel Weisz.
Tell me something she's been in. The name means nothing to me.
The Fountain. I think that was it. Yeah, she was in The Fountain. Um The Born Legacy.
Well, who is she in Born Legacy?
Dr. Marta Shearing.
Oh, okay. Tracking.
Um Fred Claus, definitely maybe. The Lovely Bones. Constantine.
I remember definitely remember who is she in Constantine?
Angela and Isabel Dodson.
It's been too long since I've seen the movie. I have to remember who that is. Yeah, I seriously don't keep up with a lot of actors and actresses. There's
She was
very
in The
few. I know.
Mummy.
Who is she in The Mummy?
Evelyn. Which I
Was
don't
that
know.
the lead female?
Probably.
Cool.
I never got into the Mummy like everybody else did. Everybody else was like,
It was good, but it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't phenomenal.
Yeah. No.
I think everybody came out to support that movie like later on because Brandon Fraser got such shafted by Hollywood that they were like really just like clinging to that one movie for how more to show support for him than for how amazing it was. It was a good movie, but it
Yeah,
wasn't like
it was a good movie. I still
I mean,
think Brendan Fraser's best movie is Encino Man.
it was really good. Apparently he was phenomenal in his newest one, The Whale.
I really like that. My
I
wife
hadn't
did.
seen it. I hadn't seen it.
We left the movie and I was like, holy shit. And my wife goes, well, that's 2 hours I'm not gonna get back. A movie
didn't
about
he
a
win
fat man.
Didn't he win a Grammy for that or something?
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Or something. He won something.
He won some big award for it. Got a huge standing ovation.
But
Well deserved for somebody that was willing to stick to his guns and basically give the middle finger to Hollywood whenever they were trying to shaft him. Good on him.
yeah, good on him standing up to things, you know. What else?
That's basically been it for me. My both my kids are super involved in other things right now. So I've been traveling a lot and been on the roads. My reading ability has been dwindled.
Gotcha.
So I haven't really been doing a whole bunch else.
Hey, next Tuesday, something should arrive at your house.
Okay.
Yeah. It has Caitlin's name on it, but it also has like and Mike.
Ah.
So it's really for your whole family.
Mm-hmm.
Like anybody in your family that wants to partake in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's the only clue you're going to give me as to what it is.
it has words.
Has words. So is it a book of some sort?
It might be.
It might be.
Yeah.
Guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So what are we reading next, Brandon? Let's get into that. What is coming up next on our reading list for the paperweights?
All right. So should I mention what we're actually doing next or what I was most excited about that will come second?
Let's talk about what's first up, and then we'll get to what you're most excited about.
Okay.
That way we can build the suspense, if you will.
Yeah. There you go. It's going to be half of the year. It's going to take up half the year, our exciting project. And then the first thing is going to take up less than that, but it's still going to take up a while. But I've been wanting to reread this for a while now. I've only actually read through it one full time. I've read the first book several times and listened to the audiobook narrated by Jim Dale several times.
Okay.
And that is the Harry Potter series.
Dum dum dum.
Dum, dum, dum. So we are going to go through all 7 of the Harry Potter books. In the main series. I do have a copy of
Cursed Child.
The Cursed Child, yeah.
I refused to read it.
Oh, you did?
I refused. I heard and read a couple reviews about it, about like what it did, and it basically turned everything in the Harry Potter world canon on its head. And I was like, I'm not reading it.
Yeah, I never read it, but it is on my bookshelf, so.
Mm-hmm. I don't even have a copy of it.
Oh, yeah, and you know what? I forgot to mention at the beginning of the episode that today is J.R.R. Tolkien's birthday.
Oh, yeah, I saw you post about that. So it's Tolkien's birthday.
Yeah, today's Tolkien's birthday.
The godfather of fantasy.
Yeah, a modern fantasy.
Yeah.
And yesterday was Isaac Asimov's birthday, which is also Science Fiction Day. So
there you go.
But back to Harry Potter. I think books 1 and 2. I feel that we can read through and have one episode on each of those books,
Yeah, they're pretty short.
without breaking it up into anything.
Mhm.
Book 3, Prisoner of Azkaban, maybe can do in one episode.
Yeah, maybe. Definitely not
After
book
that,
4.
huh?
Definitely not book 4. Book 4 is 2 episodes minimum.
And book 5.
Mhm.
So I think the last 4 we're gonna split up into 2 episodes each, and then the first 3 might be 1 episode
Mhm.
each. So that should be exciting. I doubt it's going to be as in-depth conversation as some of the other things
Yeah,
we've
probably
read.
not, because it's that'll be like I haven't read them in a while. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it because I've watched the movies like 3 or 4 times since the last time I did a complete reread through them. But I did reread them before I let my daughter read them, just because I wanted to refresh myself on it, because she and I discussed the books a little bit. So it's probably been 5 years since I've read through them, and if we've watched the movies several times since then. So
Yeah, and the movies are so different. So, like, admittedly and ashamedly, a lot of the things that I think about Harry Potter,
mhm.
it's the movies.
Yeah, that's fair though.
So, yeah, I'm excited to go to Harry Potter Land as well. I don't think we're gonna do Universal this year. I think our plans changed.
Mhm.
We're just gonna do a bigger experience, a little more of the the mouse this year,
Yeah.
which I told you about. We're gonna hit up 3 different resorts. That's
Mhm.
that's our plan, to hit up 3 different resorts and kind of experience those things, because most of the stuff in the park we've experienced already,
Mhm.
and it's fun. But there's other things that the resort and Disney has
Yeah,
to offer.
for sure.
And so, like, we're going in Christmas time, and the first night's going to be amazing because we're going to go to we got one night staying in the Animal Kingdom Lodge with the
Mhm.
Savannah view.
Yeah,
So,
that's where
like,
we stayed a lot whenever we went. We didn't get a Savannah view, but we stayed at the Animal Kingdom Lodge. It was phenomenal.
yeah, so, like, open up the window, look out the balcony,
Mhm.
and hopefully there's animals out. I'm gonna have an eastern facing room, so that morning we wake up, we get a nice, beautiful sunrise
Nice.
with animals hopefully out on the savannah. It'll be Christmas time, so the
Mhm.
lodge is gonna have the gigantic Christmas tree down in the
Yeah.
lobby. So that's gonna be really fun. But yeah, I look forward to later on going to Universal, taking my family there. When Jules gets a little bit older, because I know Universal has more thrill rides than Disney does,
Yeah.
and Jules is just at not ready for that yet.
Yeah. And my kids are the exact opposite. I asked them if they would rather do Universal or Disney again. They both said Universal, hands down. Both of
Yeah.
my kids are crazy and they love roller coasters, so they'd rather go ride rides and see Disney again.
What's funny is last year on the father daughter trip we went to San Antonio, and one of the days we went into SeaWorld, but we didn't go to SeaWorld just to do SeaWorld. We went to do the like ultimate animal experience. So you
Yeah, I
get
remember
like
you telling me about
6 interactions with animals.
that. Hmm.
But there was like an hour and a half period where there was nothing. And so the tour guide's like, all right, y'all can go explore the park, but be back at this spot at this time.
Right.
Um, and then we also found out that if you like Ubered there and you
Hmm.
didn't have to park your car in the special parking lot and go through the security check point to get in
Hmm.
for the tour, she would just let you stay and exit out the front. But if your car was in the parking lot, you had to be escorted out because the parking lot is gated and you need
Hmm.
to remove your vehicle.
That's funny.
So like, but if you did that, you could. It was the tour was over before the park closed. So
Mhm.
you had like an hour and a half, 2 hours before the park closed. So if you parked your car there, you go move it out, and then you can move
Right.
it to the parking lot, and then go through the front. But you need a ticket to get through the front.
Right.
But this way, you wouldn't need a ticket.
Mhm.
But anyway, on that break, we got to go on one roller coaster, and
Mhm.
that was because some idiot um, lost
Their
uh,
glasses or something,
their
wasn't it?
glasses
Mhm.
on the ride, and they petitioned and begged the people to stop the ride and
Mhm.
go search below for like 30-40 minutes
Right.
because she couldn't see without her glasses. But like at the same time, she is walking through the queue,
Mhm.
looking over the railing, trying to find her glasses. I'm like, you can't see. What are you doing?
She can't see.
Right? So anyway, um, Jules and I went on it. It was the Texas Stingray.
Okay.
And like she wasn't crying afterwards. She
Mhm.
wasn't crying during. She didn't keep her eyes open, but um, I think she had fun.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was that it's scary. Like, I don't know if I want to do that again
Mhm.
because of the way it made me feel. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be before
Right.
I did it. But maybe not do it again. But
Mhm.
maybe in the future. So maybe there's a future for her with thrill rides.
Mhm.
Can only hope so.
Yeah, my kids, the only problem with going with mine to places is they'll find one ride they really like and they want to ride like 6 times in a row. And I'm like, dude, I can do twice and then I got to move on.
I forget how many times we rode Rock and Roller Coaster when my parents took
Mhm.
uh, me and my sister to Disney World. Um, sorry, wife texted me, and I don't know if you could hear that, but my cat is howling.
Can't hear it.
Okay, she does that sometimes. She's 17 years old.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, um, well, oh, Rock and Roller Coaster. Yeah, my parents took me and my sister when I was like 16 or 17, and we had 2 days. We did a park hopper. I think we did all
Mhm.
four parks, but in Hollywood, we really liked the Rock and Roller Coaster. And back then, the lines were not long.
Yeah.
And I think like we got on it, and then we ran right back into the line.
Mhm.
Did it several times. We did it enough to like we're like, all right, where's the camera? All right,
Right.
everybody get ready. And then we timed it so we all had a great facial expression for the picture, and we bought that picture.
Nice.
But so um the exciting project that I really want, and it's going to be huge, is reading the Stormlight archives. And so in December, book 5 is going to be released,
Mhm.
and it's going to be a 10-book series, but book 5 is the end of the first arc. And so, like, the first 5 books tell a complete story.
Gotcha.
The second set of books is going to have he said is going to have a time jump,
Mhm.
and he's not going to work on those for another few years.
Gotcha.
So those aren't going to come out. So we're not going to be we shouldn't be left on a cliffhanger. I'm not going to
No promises.
no promises because I haven't read it and I haven't gotten there and he hasn't told me. Um, but I'm guessing there's going to be like a complete like here's what the end of this, and then we'd be left wondering, okay, where does it go from here?
Right.
Not,
Like
oh my
phase 1
god,
of Marvel.
I gotta know what happens next.
Right.
Um, so yeah, these books are tomes. There are so currently there are 4 full books,
Mhm.
and then there are 2 novellas. So one goes in between books 2 and 3. One goes in between books 3 and 4. And also, he's going to release another novella that goes between 4 and 5. So we're going to have 3 novellas and 5 novels.
So 8 books total.
8 books total. I think the novellas, I'll show you. All right, so this is The Way of Kings.
Oh wow.
Big
That's
ass
a big old book.
And all of the novels are actually divided into 5 parts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I looked it up and calculated it. The largest part in this first book is about 280 pages. I think, you know, it's ambitious, but I think we can tackle each part in a week.
Depends on when we start, because it's going to depend on my kid's travel schedule.
Okay. So,
but with us doing Harry Potter first, it might lead into a point where my traveling slows down a little bit and I have more time to read.
Gotcha. So tentatively, we'll say each of the novels is going to be 5 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the parts give it a nice little even break. But if we need to, we could split that. Because I know we discussed wanting to keep the episodes at about a 2-hour maximum.
Yeah, I think that would be. I know sometimes we get a little long-winded, and I think keeping us on a timetable, I think, will help.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
no, not at all.
There's some book club podcasts that go for 3.5, 4 hours sometimes. But, you know, I don't have that much time to sit here and just talk at one time.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I don't either. So,
and not to mention having the time to read that big of a chunk.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we'll see. We'll play it by ear. But yeah, tentatively 5 per book,
mm-hmm.
which will be and then like a non-book episode in between before we start a new one. So that gives us about 26 weeks.
Which is 6 months.
Yeah, which is 6 months. And then the novellas is like, this is the second novella, Dawn Shard, and it's 300 pages, but I mean, it's a very tiny, like,
I would say it's also little, so
yeah, it's little, but
definitely gonna have to put more readers on for that one.
You can get them on. You can get an ebook version of it if you wanted, but the little book is cute, and I like the graphics and the special. There's no special artwork inside of it. I will say, there's a lot. Brandon Sanderson loves to play around with the chapter headings.
Okay.
So I know if you remember in Wheel of Time, each chapter had a little symbol that kind of gave you a clue as to whose POV it was. Brandon Sanderson has some of that in The Way of Kings. But there's also so like in Way of Kings, like this little header here.
That's neat.
There's things on here that give you clues as to sometimes it might be a character that is not at the forefront. But if you know what these symbols are on the thing, then you're like, you can be like, oh, on the lookout of is this where are they?
Right.
If they're not in the forefront, you'd be like, okay, what was their influence, or why was that in the chapter.
Right.
And then he gives a little so right up top here.
Mm-hmm.
That's not starting the story of the chapter, but it's like a little thing that in that part, each of those chapter beginnings are tied together somehow.
Gotcha.
So I mean that's all I'm gonna say without like I don't even remember all the details of it, so I
Mm-hmm.
can't really spoil too much. Uh, but that's one thing to just be on the lookout and understanding for Brandon Sanderson's writing and
Mm-hmm.
novels.
Cool.
So, but yeah, that's exciting. I know Justin mentioned reading Dune would be a good book to read for the podcast.
It's a great book.
So, depending on when we finish Harry Potter and how we time up uh, the Stormlight Archives, because we want to try to time it close to the release of book 5.
Yeah. That way we can kind of read book 5 like as soon as it comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dune was great, and I know he also mentioned to you
Sarah
Sarah
Haas.
Moss.
Sarah Moss.
I've read several of the Crown of Thorn or the Throne of Glass series. I hadn't finished it yet.
Yeah, I think
we've
that's the one he recommended.
it's honestly the first one that the very first book is more like a series of novellas. It's like the first book is like 5 separate novellas in one, and each one kind of like sets up the first real novel. That one might be kind of fun to read too, just because it's honestly like it's not fantastic. And I know like if any Sarah Moss fans are listening, they're gonna come from my head. It's not great. It's fun.
That's what Justin said too.
Yeah, I did. I listened to y'all's episode. He wasn't wrong. It's fun. It's easy reading, and you don't have to use a lot of brain power to figure out what's going on. So
It reminds me of Dresden Files. Like that description reminds me of the Dresden Files, which I never read, but somebody described the Dresden Files as like, hey, these are fun
yeah,
reads. They're not amazing,
mm-hmm.
but they're just real. They're good enough. They're easy to breeze through,
Yeah.
and they're fun.
Apparently, she's got another series. I know. I've got like 5 bookcases in my house, and one of the ones of my recent books are over here. But I don't have any of her other stuff besides Throne of Glass. But apparently, she's got another series that's like
Court
super
of
spicy, if you will. So I haven't read any of those other ones because I don't go for books that are just straight up spicy.
Yeah, a Court of Thorns and Roses. It sounds yeah. There's a lot of court books.
Yeah, I think that's her other series because like this one is I can't remember. I have to keep looking over here seeing if I have the book up here. I think it's actually in the basement. But like this one's like Air of Fire, Crown of Midnight. Um, I think the first one is like Assassin's Tales or Tales of the Assassin or something like that.
For Sarah Moss.
Yeah, in the Throne of Glass series, if you're looking at it.
Oh, let's see.
Whatever the very first book in that
The
series is.
Assassin's Blade.
Yes, the Assassin's Blade. That's
Weird.
the one that's
Why would book 1 not be Throne of Glass?
Throne of Glass is really more of a symbol in the book than it is like
But
really
that's the
implied.
title of book 2.
I know, but
Make it the title of book 1. Like
because in book 1 it's really just setting up the character, and you really don't understand why the Throne of Glass is important until it gets the character stat. Because really, book 1 is strictly just setting up everything about the character and like her skill set. So then you get to book 2 and you're like, oh, okay, now I know what we're dealing with. Because if you had just gotten to that book and had no clue about the main character, like her background, then all the stuff she does starting in book 2 would make zero sense.
Gotcha. Now, whenever you search her name, her picture shows up, and she's a beautiful lady.
Is she? I've never even looked her up.
She's Google gives you all sorts of information too. She's 37 years old though, so she's
10 years younger than me, or not quite 10 years.
10 years?
Not
She's
quite
2 years younger than me. You're what, 44, 45?
No. I feel like it. No, I'm 41.
Okay. God, 10 years?
Look, math is not my strong suit, and I'm tired. It's getting close to my bedtime, so my brain's starting to shut down. I think anybody with a 3 in their numbers, 3 in their age, is 10 years younger than I am. So,
speaking when you were talking about what the Throne of Glass stands for in the first book, main character development.
mm-hmm.
Did you ever read Raymond Feist's Rift War?
No.
Starting with the Magician. So, like, I recently read that one, but that one's like a classic from like the 80s, 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And so they actually broke up it was 3 books. The first one was Magician, but then they broke that up into Magician Apprentice and Magician Master.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forget the other 2 names of the books, so whatever, they can crucify me. But it was a good book. I read that a couple years ago. So that was like the last series I read right before I did my reread of Wheel of Time.
Nice.
And there's actually, I think, 27 or 37 books in that universe.
Jeez, that's a lot. It's like it's like Dragonlance.
Yeah, but like the first 4
mm-hmm.
tell a complete story. Like you can stop there.
You can read the first 4 and be like, it's like reading the first book of Dune and then not reading anything else after it because you don't really need to.
Well, yeah. I feel that way about Wizard's First Rule. Like, you could literally read Wizard's First Rule. That's what I did.
Yeah.
That's the only one I read, and that's a complete story.
Yeah, there's really only like 3 more books in that entire series that are actually really good, and the rest of them are just like, eh.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Terry Goodkind books. I remember I was reading it and it was really, really good. And I was super impressed because it was finally something that wasn't tied to Richard and Kalan from Wizard's First Rule. And in the last 20 pages, he freaking looped it back into that other universe. And I got so mad, I almost threw the book. I was so pissed off about it. Because I was so tired of reading about that universe from him.
Oh, man. Do you know the band Arion?
No.
Okay. So Arion is like they do concept albums mostly.
Okay.
Almost every album they have is concept album, and it's in a specific like universe.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's connecting things between each album.
Mm-hmm.
And then each album, the guy, his name's Arjen Lucassen, and he's this Dutch singer, he is a singer, songwriter, and composer. He invite each each album is like an ensemble band.
Okay.
So it's not each album is all like these 5 people.
It's not a set band every time.
So his concept tells stories, and he picks people, singers by their voice,
Mm-hmm.
to voice certain characters, and then whatever else sounds he wants for people to play in the thing, and he builds it that way.
That's cool.
And so like he had a couple of albums come out that talked about this race called the Y. I think that was their name. But anyway, then another album comes out, and this album is called The Human Equation. I encourage you to go listen to it from start to finish.
Okay.
It's awesome. And it's metal. It's like opera, metal opera.
Mm-hmm.
Um so you got a range of it. And so when it comes out, it tells a story of a guy that got into a crash and is a coma, and his best friend and his wife are there,
Mm-hmm.
vigil on the bedside in the hospital, trying to get him to come back to life. He in a coma is hearing their voices, but then also is hearing a whole lot of other voices of
Mm-hmm.
emotions. That's like going back and forth, like should he come back to life or
Right.
whatever. And so
Come to the light, Carolyn.
when it came out, people are like, "Oh my god, this is like this is the first album that is not part of that science fiction universe."
Right.
And then the last song, the very end, is like it goes and makes this noise and it goes, uh, the human equation of program is aborted. Have a nice day.
So he tied it back in after all.
And you're like, everybody like lost their fucking minds.
It's kind of funny.
But no, like that, the human equation by Arion and the theory of everything by Arion.
Mm-hmm.
Those two out, like seriously, like listen to them straight through.
How do you spell that?
Ayreon. Like listen to them straight through, preferably in a dark room with like noise canceling headphones and nobody fucking bothers you. Like Brandon Lilly says about Sturgill
45
Simpson's
minutes of Don't Bother Me.
42 minutes of Don't Fucking Bother Me.
This album is
But
20
this,
songs long.
yeah, it's two,
It's an
when it
hour
came
and
out,
41 minutes.
yeah, it was two discs when it came out.
I believe it. What was the other one?
So
The Human Equation and what else?
the theory of everything. And like read the
Jesus H. Christ, that's
stories.
42 songs.
Yeah, but some of them are short. But
It's I think 42 songs. It's only an hour and a half. All right, I got them downloaded.
Whenever the theory of everything came out, I listened to that album twice, all the way through. In the first day I listened to it,
Mm-hmm.
and the second time I listened to it, I actually turned the lights off. Was sitting at my computer, had my headphones on, turned the monitors off, and just sat there with my eyes closed, listening
Mm-hmm.
to it. Amazing. Um, so like those two albums by Arion, I'll listen to all the way through.
Uh-huh.
Some of the other stuff is interesting and fun, but it's hard for me to listen to all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of the other ones is Into the Electric Castle. And if anything, listen to the introduction track with your eyes closed, the volume up with headphones on, and tell me you do not feel like you need to be in a fucking theater watching a live action play of what he describes.
I'll check out the other two albums first, and then we'll see I'll see how I feel about that one, and we'll get back to you.
The Into the Electric Castle is one of the earlier. It was his second, was their second album, but yeah, they're he has so many albums, but there was one he did not under the Arion label, but under his own name,
Mm-hmm.
where Rutger Hauer was he wasn't a singer, but he was
Mm-hmm.
like the narrator of the story in between songs.
Mm-hmm.
Rutger Hauer played Roy Batty in Blade Runner.
Okay.
I don't know why that took so long to come up. You've seen Blade Runner, haven't you?
Yes, I have seen Blade Runner.
Okay.
It's been quite a long time, but I have seen Blade Runner.
Yeah, he played Roy Batty. So he's like he's sci-fi royalty. So
Right
man,
on,
that was
man.
a lot. That was a lot of great conversation there.
Absolutely. It really was. My job is very physically demanding. And I'm just like I get home and I'm just absolutely spent. So that's why I look like I'm halfway falling asleep. I hadn't been drinking. I'm tired.
Yeah. I've been drinking. I still got a lot.
You got a little bit left there.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. That probably wouldn't have lasted this long with me. I probably would have finished it quite early.
Well, I don't want to be like completely destroyed.
But let me tell you about this other book I read. It's great. Wonderful.
Now let me talk to you about the time I met the boss. You know the boss, right?
I'm not talking about Bruce Springsteen either.
Yeah, that's who I'm talking about.
Mm.
Dude, it's funny. My father-in-law, he does this stupid thing with his girlfriend. Where around Christmas he makes Alexa sing "Santa Claus is Coming to Town" by Bruce Springsteen.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Santa Claus is Coming to Town by Bruce Springsteen. Music.
Gotcha.
Alexa, turn off. that
Got him.
that was great. That could not have been.
That was perfect. Is what that was. That was perfect.
That's the perfect ending, right? So
So next week will be the first book of Harry Potter.
you want to? Or do you want to wait one more?
Let's wait one more week.
Okay, that will allow me to finish up the Sunlit Man,
Uh-huh.
and then give a full few days to read through.
Because I don't remember how long
Sorcerer's
I've got all the Harry Potter books. I don't remember how long the first one is.
My goddaughter just gifted me the entire paperback set.
Yeah, I remember you showed me that picture. It's pretty dope.
Look at that! Look at that!
That's pretty awesome. I like the cover art too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it. Like I have all 7 books, but it's like mismatched, and then like
Yeah.
so 1 through 5 I have in a paperback, the first version of paperback that came out, and then book 6 is hardcover, but then book 7 is hardcover, but it has no dust jacket.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like just this hodgepodge of.
When we get to Half-Blood Prince, I've got a cool story to share about that book.
Okay.
But I'm gonna wait until we get to that book to share it.
I hope I remember this.
I will, because it's one of those stories that stuck with me forever because it was so interesting when it happened that it's always stuck with me. So anyway, so next week we'll figure out what we're gonna talk about next week, and the week after that will be book 1 of Harry Potter.
Yeah, sounds great. So Mike, thank you for spending this evening with me.
Absolutely, sir. It's always a pleasure, even though for whatever reason, this eye is starting to shut. I don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah, I don't. You need a little bit bourbon in your life, so maybe next week. Maybe next week you'll have some bourbon.
Depends on when we record. If it's during the week, probably not. So it would at least explain why my eye is closing. If I had a glass of bourbon, it would make sense as to why this eye is starting to droop.
There's nothing wrong with the little nightcap.
This is true, but I'm not necessarily doing dry January, but I'm doing. I was hitting the sauce kind of hard there for a little bit, so I'm just kind of pumping the brakes, if you will.
Yeah, one of the things when Brandon Lilly coached me said was night before, like he always recommended if you drank night before a powerlifting meet, just have a nightcap, then go to sleep, and wake up in the morning.
So
And
have
handle
you ever
business.
have you watched the Ronnie Coleman documentary, The King?
Maybe. When did it come out?
A year or two ago. It's on Netflix. It's basically about it is probably one of my favorite sports documentaries outside of the Nolan Ryan documentary, Pitching with Nolan. Which, if you have not seen that, definitely recommend watching that.
I haven't.
Oh my God, watch the Nolan Ryan documentary. It is, even if you're not a baseball fan, it is so incredibly well told, and it's like, and I love Nolan Ryan. I was a big fan of him as a kid. But the Ronnie Coleman documentary, it talks about his first pro win. So like he turned pro and then he started competing and traveling. He wasn't winning. And I think it was Flex Wheeler that he was talking to about why he, what could he do to change things up, start doing better. And Flex gave him some vodka. And Ronnie was like, "No, man, I don't drink. He's like, "No, just shut up and drink this vodka." So he made him drink some vodka. Then he poured some vodka in his coffee. He made him drink that and made him eat some pizza. And the next day, the vodka combined with the caffeine dried him out just a little bit more. And then the carbs from the pizza, they said it was like a completely different person walking on. And because of the vodka, coffee, and pizza, he won his first pro show. And they said it was off to the races after that. Flex was like, "I never should have gave him that vodka." He's like, "I never beat him again after that. I never should have gave him that vodka." It's a great documentary. I highly recommend it.
I think that's the clip for this week.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Makes it easier to find too.
Yes, because it's at the end, so it works out great. Anyway,
All
man,
right,
you have a great night and enjoy your week. And we will talk next week, man.
Yes, sir.
Later.
Later, Mike.